What's up guys, I'm Josh Mosiman and welcome to another motocross action video. Today we have an epic 2023 Yamaha YZ250 two-stroke built by Jay Clark with a TMR engine in it. We're excited to ride this bike today. We have MXA's Dennis Stapleton testing this bike. He has ridden so many YZ250 two-strokes over the years and this bike hasn't changed that much. Yes, it did get all new bodywork last year, so it is the updated platform, but the core of this bike, the engine, the suspension is relatively the same. So Dennis, he's ridden a lot of project bikes and today he's going to be shaking this bike down for us. We're excited to break down all we know about this bike and share the details on it in this video. All right guys, so good day on this Jay Clark built Yamaha YZ250 two-stroke. These things are some of the most fun bikes on the track. I mentioned it at the top of the video. I got MXA's Dennis Stapleton here with me. Dennis has ridden hundreds of YZs in his lifetime and as well as thousands of other bikes. He can definitely attest to how fun this bike is, but diving in to some of the nitty-gritty of what Jay Clark and the crew did to this YZ250 two-stroke. This YZ, it already starts off with such a great platform. They didn't want to mess it up. They just wanted to improve a little bit here and there. They sent the engine over to Tom Morgan Racing and they took it all apart. And while they took it apart, they did balance the crank. Now that's not something that they normally do on a YZ250 two-stroke because these bikes aren't known for being crazy vibration. They don't have a counterbalancer like the KTMs do. So they wanted to try it out since they were taking the bike apart. They expected to get maybe 5–10% less vibration with it. So Tom Morgan dove into the engine. He ported the cylinder. He cut the head and changed the head shape and volume inside of there. While doing that, obviously that now requires high octane C12 fuel from VP, and then they mix that fuel with Klotz R50 oil at a 40:1 ratio. So fairly straightforward to the engine, and with that he also added a V-Force 3 reed cage onto this bike, a Recluse torque drive clutch. The basket is still stock, the pressure plate still stock. They just added the Recluse torque drive fibers, steels, and springs, and with that comes the sleeves that go around the basket just to add a little bit of durability to that stock clutch basket for the YZ250. Additionally, adding to the power, FMF pipe and shorty silencer obviously give this thing the factory look and sound on the track. So fairly straightforward engine, smart, smooth, and trying to make this bike into a great race bike, but not trying to go over the top, create insane horsepower that you can't hold on to going up these hills at Glen Helen. As for the suspension, Race Tech set it up. They made it for a softer vet rider, not for our pro test riders, a little bit too soft for Dennis today. Race Tech did dive into the KYB SSS forks and the suspension and set it up for Jay Clark and his crew. Other than that, it's got the ODI podium handlebars with ODI EMIG Pro V2 lock-on grips. These are personally my favorite grips on the market. And then additionally, he used DeCal Works graphics to make this thing look trick. It was a cool color scheme that he did, blue and yellow, and it tied in with the bar pad from the ODI handlebars, the yellow ODI grips, and the graphic scheme all throughout the bike. So pretty exotic looking. It's also got a Wiseco piston. ICW also reinforced the radiators on this thing, and they added Works Connection Pro Launch starting device. The Works Connection device is pretty awesome. It's a magnetic device and super easy to set your whole shot device for getting whole shots on the starts. As for the foot pegs, they use Scar titanium foot pegs to make this thing look trick and lighten up a little bit of weight right there. So other than that, it's a fairly straightforward bike and a lot of fun for our test riders. So I I personally didn't get to ride the bike today. Jody benched me after my big crash at the World Two-Stroke Championships just 2 weeks ago. I was here enjoying the sights and sounds of two-stroke action while MXA's Dennis Stapleton and Ezra Lewis took time on this bike, and they also compared it back-to-back with our bone stock 2023 YZ250 two-stroke. So good day for testing, awesome track conditions. I was jealous I wasn't riding. Dennis, what did you think about the bike today?
Overall, anytime we can get a YZ250 two-stroke, it's never a bad day, especially a fresh one with slight modifications, because this bike's platform is so good to begin with. I didn't want to change the link, I didn't want to mess with the ride height or anything weird or put tall or low handlebars on it, so the ODI bars were neutral, stock link. Racetech did a good job with the suspension. Yes, it was soft for me, it rode a little low in the stroke. It also had very good front end feel and kind of feeling of the tire grabbing and where you were on the track with the fork low in the stroke. It did have less floppy feel or less movement than the standard fork, so that was nice. Even though that it rode low in the stroke and was soft, it had good control and it was fairly balanced with the shock. On acceleration, the stock shock has a lot of movement, gives you kind of that wallow feel and very playful feel. This shock held its position a lot more than the stock shock, so it was easy to change line position mid-turn. So overall, Racetech did a good job with that for a vet-based setting. Power on this bike was great. The stock bike kind of revs kind of free, kind of has light throttle feel. This bike was able to maintain third gear through the turns, and today we had a epic day of Glen Helen, overcast skies, deep dirt, so definitely wanted to keep this bike in third gear a lot to get momentum up the hills, minimize the shifting with this engine package from stock, and it also allowed the bike to handle a little better because I was able to ride the third, fourth gear on the track today. Keeping the suspension free and keeping momentum and pulling up the hills. Tom Morgan did a great job on this engine package. Another thing to note is the stock foot pegs have a different feel than other standard foot pegs of other brands. They're a little bit more slippery for me. The foot pegs on this bike today give it real good traction to the Alpine Star boots. The Dunlop tires, we ran 13 PSI in them. We had a 110 rear tire on this bike, hooked up good, had good lean angle feel. So overall, at the end of the day, like we've talked about many times in the MXA Wrecking Crew, the YZ250 two-stroke is one of the best, most fun bikes you could buy. I've tested bikes that are bad, and even the bad YZ250 two-stroke's a pretty good bike. They're hard to screw up. They've been around from 2005, 2006 with the same platform over the years, leading into multiple companies able to have product development time, suspension time on these bikes. They're easy to work on, easy to jet, easy to put top ends in. People run the lower ends for a long time on these bikes. This platform of this bike's easy to go down to the dealership, buy it, tinker with it, try different parts. There's tons of YouTube videos, information about this bike, so it could lead you in any direction that you're hoping for. It's easy to throw a big tank on this bike and have similar settings to your motocross and go out and enjoy with your friends. Overall, the YZ250 two-stroke is definitely a bike that you would want in the garage if it suits your style.
Long story short, this YZ250 two-stroke was easy to ride and fun for the MXA Wrecking Crew. Like I said, Ezra also hopped on this bike and he had a good time with it as well. Dennis, we got to get a counter to see how many times he's ridden YZ250 two-strokes, especially project bikes. I mean, you go through the pages of Motocross Action magazine over the last 20 years, this guy's literally ridden most of the YZ250 two-strokes that we've tested. So pretty cool. It's probably his 100th bike, I would say, maybe close for YZ250 two-strokes. Like Dennis mentioned, we have tons of information on motocrossactionmag.com, our website. And be sure to subscribe to Motocross Action Magazine. $25 for the year. You get it shipped to your front door once a month, and you also get a free $25 e-gift card to Rocky Mountain ATV MC online to shop with there. So it's a win-win. Check us out there. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.